blanket on top. That way it's nice and padded. We have grabbed 2 balls of your size and choice. I like a golf ball. I feel like it's nice and firm. We're going to be working on our feet today, and a racquetball, but it's up to you. And you might have some of those massage balls that have little nubbies on there. Whatever you like is great. It's your choice, user's choice. And as you're climbing up on your blanket and block, we're going to be really elevated here. So it's going to give you a lot of space to just let the hip flexors relax. So come into a seated position that feels supportive. It may be a regular Sukhasana, which is a cross-legged seat. It may be more of Siddhasana, which is with your heels in line with each other. It can be whatever you choose. Obviously, it's not going to be Ardha Padmasana, half lotus, or full lotus. It's going to be more of a interactive pose to let the hips unwind. You could also come into Baddha Konasana if you wanted to. I am not super comfortable in this pose because my groin is really tight. So again, it's up to you what you choose. There's no perfect pose. I'm going for my usual. And since I've come into the same side every single time, I'm going to switch sides because clearly that's my side that I usually do first. So let's settle down and settle in, closing the eyes to feel the breath. Letting the breath deepen. And as the breath begins to deepen, come into the experience of Ujjayi. Reach your hands out to the ends of the knees so the arms are straight. And let's go ahead and do some seated cat-cow here. Arching, excuse me, into cat. Drawing the belly in, chin to the chest. Lifting and opening. Starting to warm up the spine. And then coming to neutral, let's switch our feet, whichever's in front or beneath is in the back or on top. And let's go ahead and lift those arms up to the sky if that works for you. If it doesn't, you can bring your arm where it needs to be or where it can be, or even slightly into a different position, whether it's down, whether it's up, whether you're grabbing the wrist and opening. And then back up, other side. Maybe you're here, maybe you're here. Maybe the elbows are bent. And then coming back up to release. And let's just roll out the shoulders. Okay. So now go ahead and come up and extend the legs forward for a little walk here. I just made a basket. I have a trash can right there. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is you can change the position of your block and blanket situation if you like. I'm gonna turn mine because this way I'll have more extension for my feet. So we're gonna come into whatever ball you want to start with, and let's just move back and forth, rolling on the sole of the foot. I'm using the golf ball because this isn't enough pressure for the bottom of my foot, but I have my feet aren't tender. My feet are, I'm barefoot all the time and I walk outside barefoot. So it just all depends on the, how sensitive the bottom of your feet are. The closer in, obviously, to your sitting bones, the deeper that the ball is going to get into those, in between those little bones and into those muscles and the fascia and the tissue. So take that into consideration. Further away, there's going to be less pressure on the foot. And I would imagine it's fairly revealing, right? I'm finding that my feet are pretty tight. And when you find spaces that are tight, adjust the position of your foot. Maybe you want to roll around in that spot for a little bit of time to get it to loosen up. I have one really, really tight spot. And then you can pass it over to the other foot and start doing the other foot. And it may be tight in similar spots, or it may be tight in other spots. Come on. Here we go. Storm's eyeing my ball now. She's like, Yes, this foot's a little tighter on the inside edge. So now, you can, again, whatever ball that you choose, but you can extend one leg and bring your ankle up. This also will open the hip at the same time, and it all depends on how flexible you are. You can have your knee more bent or your foot further away, but finding a comfortable way to get your foot up on your knee. If it's too high, for instance, I'm pretty flexible. I could be on the floor and still be doing this. But if you want to sit on a chair, if that's more comfortable, you can feel free to climb up on a chair. And here we're going to just start to work the ankle and with the ball, the ankle and the heel and around the top of the foot as well. I'm using kind of both of my balls right now because It feels good. Or you can just use one. You can play with it. But really work around those spaces in the ankle. Kind of in behind the Achilles. And get the top of the feet. And we're just kind of starting to loosen up some of the things going on. And it's nice because your hand is also getting a little bit of opening by rolling the ball, right? You can even tap the ball, do a little kind of drumming around the ankle and the heel. Sole of the foot, top of the foot. That little kind of tie drumming experience is nice. And then let's set down our balls and let's just roll the ankle. And let's go both directions. And then you can release that, and you can switch to the other leg. Grr. Maybe doing a little drumming. And then let's roll the ankle. Both directions. And then let's release that. Bring your knees in a little bit, your feet in a little bit closer. And you can support your knees or your shins, and let's just rock back and forth here, toe to heel. And often tight ankles are from tight knees. Tight knees are from tight hips. So it all kind of starts in the hips, and it has that trickle down effect in the joints below. So let's do a little bit of shin and calf massage. You may find, because I'm finding that my soleus is tight at the back of my calf, my tibialis anterior here at the front along the shin is tight, and you can roll all the way down into the ankles and the foot as you find those channels that are tight. And also your stomach channel and your gallbladder channel kind of roll right down this outer edge of the shin and down and out the fourth toe. And it's gallbladder season. So we're getting all these fluctuations in weather. So it's amplifying how much the gallbladder is working. So you may find that there's some tension in there, and you can work that whole channel all the way down energetically if you want, and out that toe. Or you can just work those points that are tight with a little acupressure. Again, you can do a little drumming. I think that always feels good. And then let's switch to the other leg. And then maybe doing a little drumming. And then let's set down your larger ball and grab your smaller ball. So we're going to work in here in this kind of space between the index and thumb, this little web space here. So this is the accessing our liver channel, right? So it's right now, because springtime is the movement of liver, and so you may feel like more anxiety, more sensitivity, and even anger about things than maybe you really, to the point where you feel like it's maybe, I'm like, why am I so angry, or why am I so upset today? That's liver. That's liver channel getting rid of all the winter activities, right, that we've stored up in our hibernation mode. So liver gets activated and agitated this time of year. Plus then we have wind and all of those things, which also makes us start to feel a little more livery, right? So, and the gallbladder directly dumps into the liver energetically and all of that. So let's open up the liver a little bit to get some things moving. Now, I will preface this by saying this will get some things moving. So you may feel a little more irritated after class today. Make sure you drink water, make sure you go outside and take a nice walk and let your energy, kind of commune with nature. All of those little things can help dissipate some of that liver energy that we're going to activate here to kind of release. So make sure that you do something that is somewhat nurturing. Take a bath, have a nice cup of tea, whatever you find is helpful for you. So on our activating our hands, you can either rub the hands together on the ball, or you can, what I'm doing is I'm using one part of my hand to rub the other part of my hand, so I'm getting both of those activated, and I'm pressing specifically on the outer edge of the point. So it looks like this, on right in between that point. It's where it's super tight probably in your hand, right? One hand may be tighter than the other. So you can play with the ball, or you can just use your thumb and index finger to massage it. So it's up to you. I kind of like the ball because it gives me a little bit different access. I'm getting a wider range of motion in there. So up to you. And you can play around back and forth. And we'll do some twists today to, again, that's gonna start to move that energy of the liver out. And you don't have to just stick to that one point. You can kind of do your whole hands, even up to your fingertips. And then maybe you want to roll your wrists and shake out some of that energy. Okay, so we're going to move to the knees, because we talked about the knees and hips being kind of tight, which inform the ankles, but you're going to want to climb off of your block because you're going to be too elevated. So you can, I'm going to climb off my block onto my blanket. And when you come down, you can use your block to support your knee if you like, or if you're more flexible, you can let the knee rest on the mat. So these are options, and we're just gonna work around the knee with the ball. Whether it's on the floor, or it's on or you can even have a blanket underneath there if you have another blanket or a cushion. Here I'm using my bigger ball because I feel like the little ball is too deep because my muscles around my knee are pretty tight. And you can play around with how you want to access. Maybe you want to bend the knee and get in behind the knee. I find that's I have a lot of tension behind my knee. That's the hamstring attachment there. So finding those spaces to get some more action into the knee. Sitting for a long period of time really gets your knees tight. Your groin tightens, and then your knees also, because they're in this bent position for a long period of time, they start to get a little unhappy. And when you straighten them back out, because this has been shortened, you're straightening that back out, and there may be some tension or stress in the back of the knee. And maybe you want to do a little drumming like we did. Maybe a pointed flex of the foot before you shift to the other side. also maybe doing some drumming. And pointing and flexing that foot. Now, from here, let's go ahead and come onto our back. You can set your blanket kind of out of the way, your block out of the way. And as you come onto your back, just pause to feel the back body in the mat. Let the pelvis start to melt to the floor. And again, let's point and flex the feet. So coming up to the heels and then up to the toes. And then from here, let's bring the left ankle on the right knee. And let's do a little ankle roll here. Both directions. Then let's bring, you're gonna want to do your smaller ball, not your golf ball if you have a golf ball, but your smaller ball, and bring it in just underneath the hip bone toward the inner edge of the leg. So between the hip bone and the pubic bone, there's that little divot there. Bring the ball there and then draw your right knee into the chest with your left foot still on. Now, you may not feel anything. My ball's too small. I needed a bigger ball. So maybe you want to bring that foot back down and put a bigger ball underneath that space, which I'm going to grab a little bigger ball because I want to see if this will make a difference. You may not feel anything at all. So I don't feel anything even with a bigger ball. So this idea was defunct for a moment, but we'll just enjoy the hip stretch for now, and then I'll adjust this idea that I have. So just enjoying drawing that ankle in toward the chest. And then let's release that foot to the mat, unwind, go to the other side. Obviously we'll leave the ball out this time because we know it's probably not quite enough. And just enjoy that hip opener. And then we'll release that leg down. So now you can grab your ball and bring it into that space that we just talked about between the hip and the pubic bone, and draw your right knee or whatever leg you're doing into the chest around that ball. And you can kind of hold the ball in place as you draw that knee in. So now you probably feel something because you can draw your knee in closer because we don't have the other foot on there. So whichever ball you like, it seems to me the bigger ball is a better option. And then you can extend your left leg on the mat if you're or the opposite leg on the mat if you choose. getting a little opener here in the hip flexor. And then releasing that side, coming to the other side, drawing the knee in. Trying to find that kind of perfect spot. Maybe reaching that right leg long. And then releasing that leg back down, bending the knees. Now we're going to bring that ball in front of the hip bone. So right at the top of the thigh above the hip bone, and then you're going to draw your knee in. I'm holding the ball as I draw my knee in. So now the ball is against your hip bone and against your thigh as you draw the knee in, and you can extend the left leg out. So opening a little different muscle here. And again, you may not necessarily feel a lot. It depends on how flexible your hips are and your groin. And then we'll release that and go to the other side, holding that ball in between the hip and the thigh as you draw the knee in. And then gently releasing that. And you can roll to one side to gently sit up. You can set your balls out of the way. And we're going to elevate the hips now. So you can either bring a block with the blanket on it to elevate the hips. You can elevate the hips with just the blanket. So it all depends on your lower back and what your lower back needs. I'm going to do the blanket and the block, and I'm doing my blanket a little bit of an accordion fold. But I know that I have a lot of flexibility in my back, so be conscious about how much you elevate the hips. Start lower and come higher if you feel like you want it, versus coming high and then getting up there and your back doesn't feel good. All right, so however you have your blanket, you can bring your sacrum up onto the blanket and lay back until your shoulders come back down to the floor. So your pelvis is elevated, Your shoulders are on the mat, and you have a, depending on how high your block or blanket is, you have a big or a small arch in the back. From here, lift your knees off so that your heels and feet are free and off the floor. And then reach up and bring your hands to your knees. Gaze is toward the sky. And we're just going to pause here. Our knees are supporting our arms are supporting our knees. It's a mutually beneficial experience. You may start to feel some opening in the neck and the shoulders. Let the knees come wide now. So the knees are falling into the hands, and the hands are supporting the knees. And your groin may feel some opening start to happen. So now we're going to draw the right knee into the chest, push the left knee forward, bring the knees to center, push the right knee forward, left knee into the chest, open the knees wide. So we're creating limnoscot with the movement of the knees and pelvis. The next time the knees come wide, pause, and let's go the opposite direction. Left knee in, right knee forward, in together, right knee in, opening wide. Unwinding the SI joint here and the groin, getting some more space in the hip socket itself. And then pause with the knees wide, bring your hands to the shins, and just let the shins fall into the support of the hands. Bringing the knees to neutral to release the feet to the floor. You can lift your hips to slide your blanket or your block out, gently lowering back down to the floor. And as you come down to the floor, let's do 5 pelvic tilts. Just readjusting, reorganizing all of that movement that we just did with the pelvis. And then let's pause to roll onto the right side. And here you can make a choice. You can bring your ear to rest on your arm. You can bring your arm forward, rest your head on a block or a blanket. You can bring the hand underneath the side of the head. But let's come into Vishnu's couch, Anantanasana. Softening down through those lower ribs, reaching out through the heels. Bring your top foot forward. You can grab the ankle, and this again depends on your knee flexibility. I'm going to bring my ankle in front of my upper thigh and gently press my knee away. Your foot may be by your knee and you're still pressing the knee away. So it all depends on the flexibility in your hip and your knee. To get a little bit more opening for the hip, you may feel it in the inner edge of the belly. And then we'll release that back ankle to ankle. Now, the next thing that you can do is bend the knee and either grab the back of the thigh, the ankle, or the foot, and extend the sole of that top leg, the top foot, to the ceiling. So wherever you want to support is up to you. Really lift long, reach through the heel regardless of what you're holding on to. Reach through the bottom heel as well. And then we'll bend the knee, ankle to ankle, rotate to the tummy, and then roll to the other side, or like I'm going to do, I'm going to flip to the other side. So it's up to you. Depends on how you're set up. And noticing that maybe this side is different. The greater trochanter, that hip where your hip is, this big ball of the hip, on this side is more tender. So I have to adjust my position differently on this side. Also, I feel like my rib cage is a little tighter on this side. So you may have similar issues going on. Adjust to what your body needs. Feeling the breath softening down through the rib cage. And then we'll bring that top foot over, pressing the knee away. I feel like this side is a lot harder than the other side was. So that's interesting information. Because I'm feeling more tension on this side, I'm focusing more deeply into my experience of the breath to create space and ease. And then moving back, ankle to ankle. And here's where you get to make that choice, either grabbing the back of the thigh, the calf, or the foot, extending the sole of the foot to the sky. Flexing the bottom foot as well, reaching through the heel. And then gently returning ankle to ankle, and let's roll to the belly. As you come onto the belly, bring your forehead to the hands and really find the rib cage, the lower edge of the rib cage on the floor. Tops of the feet are on the mat. Legs are active but not squeezing, but hugging, gently hugging those muscles up and in. Now slide the elbows so that they're underneath the shoulders. You're starting to come up into Sphinx pose. As you're coming into Sphinx pose with the elbows under the shoulders, you're imagining that you can pull those elbows back toward the hips, creating a little bit more opening in the belly itself. Now, if you want more, you can straighten the arms. If that doesn't feel good, slowly bend the elbows back to the floor. Chest is moving upward and forward. Heads of the arm bones are drawing in toward the shoulders. And then we'll slowly come back down. Other hand on top to rest the forehead on the hands. Bringing the fingertips in line with the shoulders, forehead to the mat. Now you can make some choices here. You can push up through plank into downward dog. You can push up to all fours into puppy pose, or you can do a combo of pushing into all fours, coming into down dog, whatever you choose. If you're pushing up to plank, obviously you need to tuck your toes under. So whatever you choose, come up into all fours or plank, back to down dog, puppy pose, or whatever you choose. And once you're there, you can pedal your feet. If you're in downward dog, you can wiggle your hips if you're in puppy pose. Slowly start to walk the feet forward if you're in downward dog, or start to come into a forward bend if you're not. And then we find our forward bend. Inhaling to lift halfway. Hands come to the hips, and we'll stand up. All right, fantastic. So now you can bring your hands to your hips, lift your right leg off, do a little ankle roll. Both directions. And we'll set that foot down, go right to the other foot. Remember, we're toning the belly, supporting our pose here. Both directions. And let's set that down. Taking the feet a little wide. Let's do some knees and joints here. Continue to get some of that energy moving. Both directions. Coming up, moving into Limniscott with the hips. Both directions. Rolling out the shoulders. And just kind of kicking out the feet as you do that, a little full body movement here. And then settling back down, sweeping the fingertips up to the sky. Let's clasp that right wrist. Exhale left. Or you can come here if that's better, or arm bent, whatever feels best for your shoulders. And then back up, other side. and back up, arms release. Grab your blanket and your block set up. Now, if your knees are tight or you have a knee replacement, you can bring the blanket like this, block up, sit down into your squat. So that's option A. Option B is to bring your block lower, sit down into your squat. So it could look like this. You're sitting on your blanket and now you're lower in your squat. Or it could be that you're coming into a squat, heels on the floor or heels on the blanket. So whatever is your experience is great. Let's find our squat here. Really sitting into those heels. Trying to find my little perfect position here. All right. So we're lengthening the back, sitting into the heels, breathing. And then let's, from here, find a seated position that feels supportive. So whatever that might be for you. I'm gonna climb up on my blanket. You can walk your legs out for a moment if you like before coming into a seated position. And as you find your seat, close the eyes. And now at this point, we're just softening into the rhythm of the breath. Do any natural movements that arise, like maybe you want to roll out your shoulders, maybe you want to turn from side to side to get settled into your seat. As we come back into our natural breath, feel the body relax into the support of the earth. Continue to make any adjustments that the body is asking for here until you can sit tall, spacious, and easily soften into the breath. Bring your awareness to the navel center. Bring awareness to the navel center and the movement of the belly with the breath. So as the diaphragm, as you inhale, the diaphragm drops and opens. And as you exhale, the diaphragm lifts and contracts. We're going to use the abdominal muscles at the navel center to actually enhance the exhalation. So let the belly, let the navel lift up and in, supporting that natural exhale and movement of the diaphragm. See a beautiful burning fire in the navel center. And we're activating the fire with the movement of the belly. fueling, flaming that fire. So the navel center is the center of our assimilative powers. It digests our experiences. It helps us with discernment and release. Now that we have fueled the fire and the flames are ignited, just soften into the breath naturally, seeing this element of fire in the navel center. And in this fire, let your discomfort, let your anger, allow your sense of inability to move forward. Place all those emotions or experiences into the fire, watching each of those burn, allowing them to be released from your energy field. Every time a new thought or feeling arises, perhaps powerlessness, drop it into the flames of this navel center fire. Watching it, the power of the flames dissipate this feeling, coming back into a more spacious, ignited space within yourself. Now just feeling that experience of warmth in the belly. Knowing that we can always activate the energy here to help support us in our ability to assimilate our experiences, to digest our feelings, and to move forward with willpower and determination. Bringing the palms to join at the heart center, connecting to our deepest spaces in the heart, the seat of our individual soul, the connection to the collective soul, knowing that we are all one being, united in joy and harmony. Namaste.